Welcome to Functional Fluency. Our relationships at work and in our private lives are fundamentally based in our behaviours and those of others. Functional fluency describes the behaviours we use when we have flourishing, productive and rewarding relationships, and also the behaviours which undermine those relationships. It shows how we can change unhelpful behaviours by putting our energy into effective behaviours. This is about behaviour, not personality, and it is within our control. What we're talking about is being able to respond more and react less, and I'll say more about that as I go through the model. This is Susanna Temple. Susanna developed functional fluency out of the theory of personality and interaction known as transactional analysis, or TA. And this is how Susanna describes what she's doing with functional fluency. We need to understand our own habits and patterns of behaviour and the effects these may have, so we can choose positive and productive ways of relating. The functional fluency model is made of 3 levels, and I'm going to show you all 3 levels so as to help you understand the full model when you see it. Level 1 consists of 3 categories. At the bottom we have self-actualization, growing up and becoming ourselves and using our behaviour on behalf of ourselves as individuals, expressing who we are throughout our lives. In the middle we have reality assessment, being in touch with the here and now, and that's an internal activity mostly, a moment-by-moment assessment, making sense of what is happening and helping us to decide what to do next. And at the top we have social responsibility. As we grow up, we take on roles of social responsibility, sometimes quite young if we take responsibility for a younger sibling or in a caring role. And then as we get older, we may take on roles such as form leader or games captain at school. And then as we become adults, we may become leaders or managers and indeed parents. So this is all about being in charge, when I'm in charge of things, for people at work, for people at home, and also for myself, because we take responsibility for ourselves as we mature. At level 2, we can see that self-actualization, or being an individual, has been divided into 2, and social responsibility, or being in charge, has also been divided into 2. In self-actualization, this is divided between showing our natural selves, expressing our own selves, and socialized behaviour, ways that we've learned to relate to others. In social responsibility, or being in charge, this is divided into ways in which we need to care for people, looking after people and ourselves, and being in control, guiding and directing others and ourselves. And reality assessment is all about accounting, being alert and aware and evaluating what's going on and deciding how to make use of that in order to choose the most effective ways of behaving. Susanna describes this as using head, heart and guts to take account of what's going on in the present situation. So this gives us the full functional fluency model, and this one shows also the behaviours themselves, and I'm going to take you through that step by step as well. Let's start at the bottom with self-actualization, being an individual. And if we look at the natural side, the expressing my own self in my own way, this can either be done in an effective way or an ineffective way. The effective way of doing this we're calling spontaneous mode behaviour, and this is about expressing ourselves as individuals, showing our enthusiasm, our curiosity, having playfulness about ourselves, showing imagination, expressing our needs in a way which takes account of how our behaviour affects others. When this is being done in a way which is ineffective or unhelpful, we're calling that immature mode, and this is about behaviours which may be natural in a 2 or 3-year-old, but which as we grow up we need to have grown out of. So this might be things like a temper tantrum, egocentric behaviour, reckless behaviour, and the kinds of behaviour where we are not taking account of how our behaviour affects others. On the other side of the self-actualization, we have the relating to and getting along with others. When we're doing this effectively, we're calling this the cooperative mode. And in cooperative mode, we are using assertive behaviour on behalf of ourselves, and we're also being considerate and friendly towards others. We're seeing this as an equal relationship in which we can negotiate with others, and we show our behaviour confidently. It is also where we use behaviour which is resilient. When we're relating to others in ways which are ineffective, this takes two forms. It's two sides of the same coin. We may be compliant, giving in or agreeing when we don't want to, or we may be resistant, which is characterized by defensive behavior. At the top, in the social responsibility or being in charge section, let's look first of all at caring for ourselves and others. And when we're doing this well, we're calling this the nurturing mode of behavior. And effective care is characterized by showing compassion, cherishing people. If people were plants, you would give them food and water. So it's about providing what people need in order to flourish. Being encouraging, accepting of individuals, checking out your understanding of how they are experiencing any given situation. And this behaviour takes account of people's ability to do things for themselves. When the caring is being done in a way which is unhelpful, we're calling that marshmallowing mode behaviour, ineffective care. And this is all about rescuing people. Instead of enabling them to do things for themselves, doing things for them, smothering them, maybe being also over-tolerant of people's behaviour or overprotective, and indulging them, indulging wants rather than needs. Marshmallowing behaviour is called that because marshmallows are rather gooey and sticky and not terribly good for you. And marshmallowing behaviour is not good for either the person on the receiving end or the person giving it. On the other side, we have the guiding and directing of ourself and others, the control side of being in charge. And when this is being done well, we're calling this the structuring mode of behaviour. Structuring is all about inspiring people to be able to achieve, providing a kind of scaffolding around so that you can be helpful in an appropriate way, give people the information and the feedback that they need in order for them to be able to achieve. It may also be characterized by being well organized yourself, and it is also firm. It sets boundaries. Authoritativeness in structuring mode shows people that they can trust you and that you will be consistent in your behavior with them. And when the guiding and directing is done in a way which is unhelpful, we call that dominating mode, which is ineffective. So this is all about being blaming and bossy, fault-finding and critical, maybe even punitive. And it shows a lack of respect for the individual. In the centre, the accounting mode is all about the reality assessment. It's about being alert and aware, taking account of the present situation by evaluating what's going on. It's about being rational and also emotionally intelligent. And it's taking place mostly inside yourself, inside your head, but it may also be inquiring not only of your own thinking, but also of other people's view of the situation. So if we look at this whole picture, we can see that we have the golden 5 effective behaviours in the centre, and on the outside we have what we call the purple pitfall ineffective behaviours. We all fall into them from time to time, every day probably, and they are reactions usually to emotion. When people are behaving in compliant, resistant or immature mode, it's easy for people in positions of social responsibility to get drawn into behaving in either dominating or marshmallowing ways. Equally, if people in social responsibility roles behave in dominating or marshmallowing ways, they are more likely to get a reaction from compliant, resistant or immature mode. So we need to put as much energy as possible into these effective modes in order to have the productive relationships that we want. And as we've said, these also apply to how you manage yourself. So you can think about whether you dominate or marshmallow yourself, and how instead you can use structuring and nurturing with yourself. Accounting is the key to being able to use the effective modes as a response rather than the ineffective modes as a reaction. Any event evokes thinking and feeling which fuel what we do, and we can make a choice by managing emotion in the moment, and by using the accounting behaviours we can make a choice between effective and ineffective behaviours. And that is how people can make use of functional fluency and the personal profiling tool that goes with it called TIFF in order to find out what are their strengths and where are there areas where they could be using effective behaviours instead of wasting energy on ineffective behaviours. It's all about responding more and reacting less. And here you can see someone using the TIFF profiling tool, the Temple Index of Functional Fluency, with a client. This gives a snapshot of people's behaviours in response to a questionnaire and enables them to get into more detail about what functional fluency can show them. So how and where are functional fluency and TIFF used? They're both used by consultants, coaches, trainers, counsellors and educators in a wide variety of organisations and with individuals. In public organisations, they're used in councils, with social workers and other staff, in schools, universities and youth work. In private organisations, in all areas of companies, managers and leaders with teams, and geographically in the UK and in 16 other countries worldwide. And it's spreading. There is a network of TIFF and functional fluency providers around the world. If you would like more information about functional fluency, go to Functional Fluency International website, and there you can download a starter pack in about functional fluency. And if you'd like to find out about other learning and training opportunities in functional fluency and in the use of the TIFF profiling tool, you can go to the training programs section.